You're in tune to Chicagoland's #1 college radio station, 89.3 WKKC. This is Focus Talk, and I'm your host, Dennis Snipe. Is there any way to bounce back after being hurt and disappointed very badly? Or what's the formula for balancing the weight of the world on your shoulders when your own foundation is weak and uncertain? Joining me today is author Ben DeHaven, who has written the book entitled Confessions of a Self-Help Writer, the Journal of Michael Enzo. Perhaps the book will answer a few of the above questions and many more. Welcome to the show, Ben. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming out and or at least placing the call and sharing some information with us today. Well, let's get right to it. Who is Michael Enzo, and why should I read about his confessions?
Sure. Well, Michael Enzo and I are actually good friends who originally are from Chicago and grew up right outside of the city and out in Cicero, actually. And I've known him for almost 20 years, and we were writers for a long time. And basically, when he couldn't get the contracts writing for politicians and celebrities and all sorts of other self-help books, he started just writing them on his own without permission. So I actually, about 2 years ago, I had the FBI show up at my house because we owned an art newspaper in New Orleans where we reviewed local music and things like that, and he kind of left me holding the bag. So he's still running around. And why should you read it? I think because anybody that's ever looked for an answer for anything, maybe you should look to the source, because this is a first-person rock and roll kind of journal entry into the depths of a pretty twisted mind.
Okay. All right. Now, can you kind of bring us up to speed? You say that he was a self-help writer?
Yes. Yeah, among other things. But he actually, the funny part about his whole lifestyle is, I grew up, my mom taught in Maywood, and my dad did construction, and without even knowing it, he had come from a very wealthy family. One of those people who really probably didn't need to work if he didn't need to, but something inside him just made him rip into everybody, and at the end there especially.
Okay. And now, so you decided to basically take his memoirs and create a book about what he did.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, it's his journal that we found a bunch of his writing after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, underneath one of his houses, and it's kind of a story of, it's his story, but also where I was in life and what I knew about and what I didn't at the time. And it's funny because we actually, there was a time in my life, especially in Chicago, where I shot hip-hop videos for some emerging guys, and boy, I loved the first version because we just had names all over the place, but there's enough you can draw a correlation to pretty popular musicians and artists and celebrities and politicians in there, but we weren't allowed to print their actual names.
Okay. So this may sound like a stupid question, Ben, but what's so bad about that?
What's so bad about which part?
What's so bad about writing a self-help book that is based on the lives of other individuals? And because basically what you're talking about is how other people went through certain situations and they were able to maintain, they were able to come through, and they're the better for it. And he just, just kept records of that. Is that really bad?
No, sure. I understand the question. That's not what happened. He did not have permission to, these people, it would be the equivalent of if, Kim Kardashian came out with a book that said, I kicked heroin or something ridiculous, which obviously is not a real thing. Mm-hmm. Those are the types of books that this guy published, and he published them without anyone's knowledge, sold them in small lots until he got found out. Does that make more sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so that's pretty bad. Imagine if, imagine Dennis, if you were sitting around one day and you saw a book that had your name on it, that was your story and had nothing to do with your life at all.
Yeah, I guess that would cause an itch.
Yeah, so that's where the fraudulent part comes in. The act of that writing the self-help with permission. I think that's actually a good thing, because we learn from. Hopefully, we can learn from other people's mistakes. I mean, we all know. I don't know if you have kids, but you can tell your children as many times as you can. Don't do this or don't do that, but it still crushes you when they do it anyway.
So, Ben, what does this entire tale teach us from the outside looking in?
I think that it teaches us to definitely look to where you're taking advice from, which is a difficult thing, especially when you're at a low point in your life. A lot of people that are hurting will grab things, and especially things for money. We'll pick up self-help books and grab them because it's got some celebrity's name on it, and occasionally there's a story in there. I mean, many of them are great, but the truth is, you've got to kind of find faith, and you've got to lean in the right direction. And what I really hope this book does is, if nothing else, for some people it's just a fun. Well, not fun. It's a dirty story, kind of. It's a rough read. But for other people, it's eye-opening. If your world was rocked by some book like Who Moved My Cheese or something like that, and then you open it up and discover that the actual author of that book is driving stolen cars from Chicago to Detroit and ripping people off and mixing it up in Cabrini Green, which I don't even think is there anymore.
No, it's gone. It's a fond memory.
Yeah, you have fond. I don't know if it's fond, but yeah. So, as we look at situations like this, I guess maybe the other side of it is that unfortunately we're always looking for, people in general are looking for something outside of themselves. As you made mention earlier, I guess you have to look to the source and be able to find it, but no one really wants to say that the answer is within me. Is that true, or they're always looking on the outside? Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair statement for sure. And when I say looking inside, that can be your community, that can be your family, wherever you find strength. But it in my opinion, it's a tough sell to. You shouldn't pull all of your motivation from a stranger, for sure.
No.
Well, I'm talking about a physical stranger here on Earth. I guess that would be a better way to put that.
Okay.
I mean, I believe that there's a leap of faith that you have to take. There's a written word, and there's things that are powerful and important. Mm-hmm. But then there's a dirty industry called the self-help industry, and I can't think of anything worse than taking someone at a low point in their life and giving them information that's not relevant. I mean, it's almost like, it's like being a heretic almost. So
now, would it liken unto, and this may sound bad, but it's likened unto roadkill, No one, you don't want to look at it, but then again, you can't look away. Ooh, something got hit. Ooh, tell me, what was it? And you look at it and you say how bad it is. However, you can't turn away. So is there a line that we need to draw and make ourselves do something different, even though we don't want to?
When you draw a line in terms of where we get information, or where?
No, as far as looking at certain situations, because you as you said, it's a very bad situation as to what happened and what Mike did. But then again, people are enjoying reading the sordid tale that took place.
Yeah, and for me personally, it's actually been kind of tough. It's interesting you bring that up because. Even here in Las Vegas, the book was nominated for the best new voice in fiction by the American Library Association, and And I was humbled by that, and I talked to a very nice librarian from upstate New York, and she was in her 80s, and we actually discussed that line about even bringing people to read, getting off of a Twitter feed, like getting young minds to read. And I don't know if this is the right book for that. Actually, I know it's not the right book for that. My mom, being an educator, made me promise not make sure this didn't wind up in an elementary school or even a high school, but. There's a shock and awe value, like you said, that you can't look away from. I would say comparatively, I pray, I hope that this is not as bad as even the nightly news. But I don't know if that helps, if that's what you're looking for.
Oh, it does. It does greatly. Now, Ben, in your opinion, is this story a cautionary tale of what to be mindful of in our own attempt to save the world?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair statement.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough as the collaborator, someone who put it together. And it's funny, you open the show. When I found this journal, I had a lot of malice in my heart. But somebody actually, a very good friend of mine, brought to light that, maybe the fact that I did it and even the last few chapters is almost me kind of crying out to somebody who, I loved at one point, and still do. And, the kind of grabbing the last lost soul, well, not the last, but, a lost soul out there who can kind of still be forgiven.
Yeah. Yeah. Where's Michael now?
I have no idea. And it's Enzo is of course, that's not his real last name.
Okay.
But yeah, the first draft of this story was about 600 pages, and by the time the government and the lawyers got through it, that it was under 200. Wow!
So a lot had to be cut out to protect the innocent.
Yeah, 2/3, almost 2/3, and so that's why it's funny. It's very interesting, especially for a show like yours, because there's something to still be taken from it for sure. And it's always been, I went to school at Columbia there in Chicago, and and so did Michael, and there's a section in there about the college that I don't think that the college would enjoy it, but the students probably would. And it's a cautionary tale to some, and it's for somebody who wants to find a deeper meaning, for someone who's open, or maybe for somebody who's hurting. They can, if nothing else, they can look at this and kind of give it, wow, at least it's not as bad as this. Not that that's a great way to heal to begin with, but sometimes, that's just an example of putting something outside of yourself. Sometimes when you've got a load, you've got to put it down. So, and if you're not at that place in your life, I would argue that, even though you might be in a dark spot, a lot of times you're just fueled with the fun, especially, I can't speak for young women, but, young men, there's a time in your life when you think you can kind of do no wrong. At least I did. And, so I'm kind of hoping that if nothing else, some of them will pick this book up and say, wow, this is really exciting. And then maybe when they look a little deeper, they'll see the meaning, behind it.
And that meaning, in your opinion, would be what?
I would say that meaning is faith.
Faith.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna have to have you come back. That's a whole nother show.
Sure. Well, I'll leave you with this. I was blown away by one reviewer who said, "Here is one dark, dirty, disturbing tale that also made me rethink my relationship with God."
Wow.
Right. So, I mean, for me, I was speechless for days after reading that, because for me personally, the notes I wrote in there, that's what I was thinking of. But, I'm not in the business of conversion right now. I guess I would say I am, but not full time. And so it's very humbling. So, any message that'll help somebody, and if they can get there on a fun ride as well. boy, that would just be about as good as it could get for me.
That's pretty awesome. Hey, I can't help but quote this particular line by Dr. Kenneth Wilber, and it says, "A thinking man's Tucker Max or an idiot's Hunter S. Thompson." Unpack that for me.
I'm sorry? Put it in context?
Yes.
So, are you familiar with Tucker Max?
Yes.
All right. So, for anybody who's not, I guess it's funny because the publisher actually asked him to write the opening for this book, and I got to speak briefly with him. And I told him, I said, I don't want you to feel badly about this, but I think I read about 10 pages of your book and found something better to do. Of course, he sold about 50 million copies of his. But he wrote kind of a fraternity-style, womanizing, drinking, running around. So I haven't spoken with Ken, Dr. Wilber, but I would hope what he means is that there's more meaning to it than that, but there's still some of that type of content.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the idiots Hunter S. Thompson, maybe as much as I love to see what Hunter S. Thompson writes, there's some passages that are almost like a Dennis Miller fly over your head type of thing. So,
okay.
I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe it's just a good middle of the road read is what I'm hoping. So.
Okay. All right. Lagniappe, a little something extra, if my Creole is correct, and so that's your publisher.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any particular reason that publishing company?
I know Wade very well, and we went to graduate school at Tulane together, and I worked for a company that his father owned in Chicago for a while. I actually wrote for them.
All right.
They did a lot of independent film and some crazy projects that came through Chicago. I don't know if you remember. Was it Mimic? And of course, I think it even appears in the book. We used to do all the exterior for ER, and even that was a long time ago though when George Clooney was on the show.
Okay, all right. Now you're a native son of Chicago, and you've done a lot of different things here. And as you mentioned earlier, you went to Columbia. What's on the horizon for you as an actor, not an actor, but as an author, and with all of the other things that you do? What's on next on the agenda?
So one of my favorite things to do is I really like to help emerging businesses. So I like to help people. There's a line in the book that I'm going to steal, which is there's no greater gift you can give somebody else than empowering them. And I really like to help people get off the ground, and especially people in need. So I've always done a lot of volunteer work, and I hope I can use whatever knowledge I have to build businesses and help people. And I'd like to write, and I'd like to help some people get published that have stories that just really blow my hair back, for lack of a better expression.
Okay. You know what? I'll have to talk to you about that, because I've been playing around with some writing myself, and everything that happens, it happens for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last question. The JayZ shout out. Give me a little information about that before we go.
So that is, let's call that an unfortunate coincidence, just in case. But there's December. Oh, I'm gonna ruin it. The first track of the Black Album that his mother, Sean Carter's mother, speaks over. It's a shout out. I believe it says. Well, I don't know if I can quote it without the profanity, but it's basically, let's say, blank the world, my defense came. Ben DeHaven introduced me to the game.
All right. That's all right. Hey, who cares? It's JayZ.
That's right. You know what? I'll take it any way I can get it. I will tell you this: there's a little, well, not little. He's huge now, but there's a rapper out of Detroit that we had to cut 2 sections out of the book about. And I'll just say the last line of the chapter was something like, I pulled the stolen Jaguar off of exit 69 and went down to 8 Mile. M&Ms are delicious. That's all we could put in there.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Ben,
so there's some good stuff in there. You can make some corollaries to all sorts of crazy things.
okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, what I'll do is after I've made all of those connections, I'll give you a call and we can compare notes. How's that?
Yeah. Well, it'll be like a choose your own adventure / scavenger hunt kind of.
Sounds good. Ben, thank you so very much for sharing your time and sharing your story with us. I wish you the best in your endeavors.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I do appreciate it.
All right. We've been talking with Ben DeHaven, who is the author of the book entitled Confessions of a Self-Help Writer, The Journal of Michael Enzo. You're in tune to Chicagoland's #1 college radio station, 89.3 WKKC. This is Focus Talk, and I'm your host, Dennis Snipe.